Hola amigos, bien o no, y saludos desde Inglaterra. Hoy quiero um, devolver para hablar poquito con los elementos clave en cualquier um, curso de práctica o nueva lengua. So, today I just thought we'd recap quickly on key elements to make sure you're including in your language practice. So, I think the most important one, honestly, is to read at all opportunity. So, any opportunity you get, however trivial it looks, the thing you're reading in the new language is going to help. Now, whether that's like cereal packets when you're having breakfast, seriously, something like that, it looks trivial, but you're getting to see how the things are written. Adverts, uh, short pieces in magazines, like the kind of sleeve notes we get on books. Anything you see in the new language, read it to understand better how it all fits together. So, the more reading we can do, the quicker we can see the patterns in the language, and that really is what's going to help us select from that the information that's most useful to us, or the words and phrases we can best use ourselves. When you're not able to do reading, listen to as much stuff as possible with as much variety as possible as well. So, as many different voices, accents, regional dialects you can manage, because that again is the closest we can get to real life practice without actually being there. And then while you're listening to stuff, repeat it. Either pick phrases you hear and practice those separately, or effectively read along with the person as they're speaking. So just copy what they've said a few seconds after them, shadow along with them, and this will also help you get a sense of the general rhythm of normal speech. So lots of reading, as much listening, and ideally some kind of repetitive practice you can manage. Once you're happy then with how you sound, then you need to look at the content that you're going to use to express your ideas and opinions. And really, since we're now adult learners, it's easier for us, I think, to then focus on what do you really need in these situations, what will be a best outcome, best practice in this conversation, what would be the most effective questions you could ask, some kind of variant of a why, what, how combination. But don't learn more than you need. If we think carefully, in most cases, we only really need a few key phrases or a few key questions to get us most of the way into that conversation. And then the rest we can relate back on what the other person has said, and we can ask another question or we can react to that. But at the beginning, we don't necessarily need 10 different ways to ask that question. Be direct. Pick the most useful question, go with that. That'll start the conversation. So, things to think about. This is, I think, always a way to reassess constantly what you're doing in the practice so you don't get bored, and also a way of looking at how effective what you've been practicing up until that point has been. Could you change this element and maybe get some more progress? If you did this, would this help you improve that aspect perhaps of the speaking or the listening you're finding more difficult? Can you change the way you're doing it? But in general, once you've gone through the process of exposure to the language, where you're listening, reading, be very selective about which bits of it you need to use yourself, because then you've got less to actually memorize for your own use, and you can rely on a general memory of let's say, vocabulary. So when you're in the conversation, you know more or less what's going on and you can identify what the topic is. But if you prepare yourself with a more selective range of very useful questions and perhaps some other useful repetitive phrases you would need to answer common questions that you get asked of you, you should be able to handle these conversations quite easily without having to memorize the whole dictionary to do it. So have a think about that. See whereabouts you are in what you're practicing. See what kind of results you've been getting. Think about whether perhaps you're focusing energy more in an area where you're not perhaps getting enough useful results back. Maybe you can achieve more with less. That's the idea. But we'll leave it there for today. Déjame saber en los comentarios, como siempre. But for now, on this splendid evening here, we'll say cheerio.